simulcast to a conversation with the candidate for mayor of Mobile.
It's going to be a really difficult choice.
The challenges they'll face.
Take care of these potholes in the street.
And why they say they deserve your vote.
There's a lot of work left to do in this city.
We're taking you beyond the podium in a special edition of NBC 15 News. Good evening, everyone. Tonight on NBC 15 News, we're featuring Mobile mayoral candidate Spiro Cheriogotis. He's from Dothan, Alabama, and he is also a graduate at the University of Alabama's Law School. After earning his law degree, he worked for the Mobile County District Attorney's Office before moving on to the private sector as a defense attorney. And for the past 6 years, he served as a Mobile County District Court judge. He is married to Lucy Greer Cheriogotis. They have 4 young children, 2 girls and 2 sons. And tonight, he's putting his work in the judicial system behind him to run for mayor of Mobile. And we are proud to have you with us today. Thank you very much.
I appreciate y'all doing this.
Taking the dive into the pool first. We appreciate that. We're going to ask you as many questions as we possibly can. And first of all, if others have questions that we don't get to tonight, they can address them to you, right?
Definitely. You can email me directly. It's spiro@spiroformayor.com. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, direct messages. We'll get back to you. Do be patient with us. We're trying to keep up with a lot of communications, but I want to hear from the people, certainly.
Right. Very good. All right, you are a former judge. You've been a prosecutor. You've been a defense attorney. How could those roles be beneficial to you as you go into possibly being Mobile's next mayor?
There's no doubt that those roles give you an up-close view of some of the things that are going wrong in our city. You know, some of the conditions that lead to crime, things that you can address hopefully at a stage in somebody's life where they never wind up in court. They don't wind up with criminal charges. So, you know, when I was considering this run, that was something I really focused on, the ability to, you know, be proactive, help people before it was too late.
Do you see yourself somewhere down the road, maybe even going to Montgomery as an advocate? Even if you don't win this race, do you see yourself trying to affect the legislation in the future?
You know, I never want to sound corny, but I go where the Lord leads me, Darwin. And if that's where I'm called, that's where I'll go. I don't see this as a stepping stone. You know, I love the idea of keeping things local. I think that's where government can have the biggest impact on your daily life, is at the local level. What a mayor does, what the city council does, it really affects your life on a daily basis, and I hope to have a positive impact.
While we're talking about public safety, would you retain the same leadership structure in public safety, that both in the designated positions of those that are there, or even the people who currently hold those offices that Mayor Stimpson has in place? Would you be changing those? Would you keep some of those on? What's your thoughts on that?
You know, I can tell you, I've not promised anybody any job or position, from my campaign staff to anybody at the city. I think it will be the next mayor's job to get in there, evaluate what's working, what's not, where you know, there are inefficiencies that can be corrected. So my hope is, you know, if the people see fit to elect me as their next mayor, I'm going to spend some of that time between August or September and November getting in there, seeing who's doing the job and who's doing it well and where changes need to be made.
Have you had a chance to even talk with the Stimpson administration about some of these folks? I would think that would be some of your research.
Certainly. I've had those conversations even before Mayor Stimpson announced that he wasn't running again. You know, we had very regular meetings that we talked about what was working in the city, you know, where areas that needed improvement, and I have my own ideas, but, you know, frankly, I don't want to pass judgment on a position or a person without directly engaging with them and seeing for myself. You know, in court we have rules against hearsay, so I want to get some direct evidence.
So it would be like, okay, I'm in office now, I'm turning these folks out and bringing these folks in. You're going to have a transition period of time to take a look. Is that what you're thinking?
Certainly, and you know, I'll tell you, I think in many ways what's happening in Mobile is working. I think in some ways the secret of Mobile is out. Developers, people are interested in the city of Mobile and what's happening. And I think in many ways the city is doing a great job, especially in attracting new industry, new business, new developments. If it's not broke, don't fix it. But there's no doubt we have a lot of issues to fix. We've been talking potholes off air. And
we'll be talking about those in a minute.
Sure, well, I'll wait for that question.
Okay. Mobile has been shocked by several high-profile crimes, and Lord knows I've covered a bunch of those myself. But also, some of the crime numbers have fallen in recent years. Now, I'm wondering, do we continue that trend by more incarceration, or are there programs that you've seen or witnessed somewhere else that you feel like, or wanted to start when you were a judge, that you feel like you could implement that could make an effect on these?
Certainly. We're doing really well in some areas, but gun violence continues to at least stay level. You don't see the drop in crime that you're seeing in other areas. And look, the truth of the matter is the vast majority of our gun violence is committed by young men between the ages of 14 and 24, before their brain can fully appreciate danger, risk, consequence. And the more we can put in those children's lives early to help them understand, emotional regulation, conflict resolution, solving problems without violence, I think we can really instill some leadership and mentorship and hopefully divert some young men away from this path so they never end up in court. Of course, police is part of the, police tactics. I've seen tools and techniques that I think can make an immediate impact on crime, especially gun violence right now. But we can't ignore the front end. The more money we invest on the front end, the less money we'll have to spend in incarceration and policing.
And I've heard similar statements made like this before. And I guess how intimate, you do have an intimate relationship with some of those young offenders because you've seen them first in the courtroom.
Yeah.
Was there anything that struck you in common with all of them?
I think we all have more in common than are different. People are people. People want to be able to better themselves and have a nice meal and a safe place to sleep at night. And the fact is, there are a lot of kids growing up that don't have those basic needs met. And it's no wonder why they get frustrated, why they lose their temper. And I think there are ways that through resources, through real leadership, mentorship, problem solving, that we can teach a different way of thinking that maybe they're not learning at school or home or even church. So, in the end, I see myself in a lot of these young men. We were all young men at one time, we all made bad decisions.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that we can help young men not make those permanent, lasting bad decisions before their brain is fully developed to appreciate those consequences.
You've raised nearly $1 million for your campaign. That's pretty impressive. In fact, it's more than any of the other candidates. You've raised $971,000. One of your competitors, Paul Prine, is repeatedly stating that, and I've heard him say this at several of the forums, that he cannot be bought. So there's an implication that he's referring to your endorsement by the Stips administration. So while endorsements are an essential part of every single campaign, how independent will you be from the Stips administration if you're elected, and what actions and decisions, so would you carry over, do you think, that you feel like are good and ones that you might end?
I think there are a lot of projects that are fantastic, that are, I think, going to change the face of Mobile for generations to come. The arena is one of those. Mm-hmm. Top tier talent coming to our city for the first time since Led Zeppelin was touring, I think. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a big revenue driver. That's a big attractor. When I look at the airport, I think it's going to make it easier to do business downtown. I'm hopeful that airport becomes South Alabama's airport, that everyone from our region is using it. So those are certainly projects I'll continue to pursue. There are some things that I think need fixing. When I look at our permitting department, I hear more complaints and developers who refuse to work in our area just because of the difficulties they face there. We need to do a lot of building in Mobile. And if that's an impediment to that, we've got to fix it fast. I think Mayor Stimpson would probably recognize that. But going back to independence, I'm glad that I have a relationship with Mayor Stimpson, and we built that over years. But frankly, it kind of started off on rocky footing, where, he and the police chief at that time, who might be running for mayor, they made some statements I disagreed with. And, I stood up and said, I think you're wrong. And when's the last time we got together and discussed our common issues and, suggested solutions that could work for everybody? We all want a safer city. And to Mayor Stimpson's credit, he started those meetings. And so we were able to turn a negative from a positive. But, if there's one thing I'm not, it's somebody's puppet.
Okay, so, and that is, when you start dealing with money, whoever makes the most money is going to be considered the person that probably has more obligations. So that's a natural assumption. You're saying that is not the case here.
Look, I think that might be a fair thought, but I've never accepted a single campaign donation that came with strings. You know, I think it's fair for people to want a good leader and want to support them. And including Mayor Stimpson's endorsement, he didn't ask for any promises. You know, no promises were given, but he didn't ask for them. And the same has been true for our donors. You know, I'm proud to report, I think at this point only 25% of our donors also gave to Sandy Stimpson. So I'm proud of the work that we've been able to do and the new people we've been able to reach out to and touch. And I'm really thankful that there are a lot of people out there who, you know, have my back.
Okay. I want to go ahead and see if we can go ahead and take this break because I don't want to interrupt you in the next questions here. So we've got a lot more to ask, and we hope you'll stick around because you're learning a lot more about your mayor candidates tonight. And Spiro, you'll be back here for a few more minutes, won't you?
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll be back in just a minute, so stay with us.
I'd sure.
Yeah.
If I walk out, do I have to kind of walk out there at like 6:20?
I got you, Connor. Yeah, you'll be able to. Yeah.
We're back in our series of special interviews with mayoral candidates for the city of Mobile. Spiro Cheriogotis is with us as our first mayor, and we will have the others on later this week. When you're talking about what you'd focus on if elected, you mentioned infrastructure a lot, of roads and parks, and we kind of touched on this a little while ago. I was actually doing a story on potholes that became, it took on a life of its own, because I think that's something that everybody encounters every day. And there were some issues with the city. They had a truck down that apparently they said kept them from repairing some holes, but people's cars were really being damaged, and they still are. Is there a way to, potholes are going to be here forever because we use these roads, but is there a way to be more proactive, do you think?
You know, I thought about it as a campaign ploy, if you will, going and fixing some potholes. But, you know, and talking to people who are professionals, you know, you have cold mix that you can pour, but they don't last, especially in our city. So we need to make sure our equipment's working. We need these trucks running. They're everywhere. You know, I'm avoiding potholes every day when I drive. I think it has a lot to do with the amount of rain we get here, but
Yeah.
you know, it's a real problem, and I think Mobile we have to get better at doing the little things well, and that is moving people through town efficiently on smoother roads, you know, with better drainage, so your house doesn't flood like mine did.
Yeah, that's true. Yours did that day. Yeah, when we had some strong rain and storm sewer, of course. Everything, all the old storm drains. Let's not confuse sewers and drains. Storm drains are all over the city. They're old. They need to be replaced. You can't do it all at once. Should there be and there may be something already in place, pay as you go, like the county does with the roads?
You know, we're definitely looking at that, and I think for the first time we're going to get a chance to vote on that. Absolutely, it's been a very successful format, pay as you go. I support it fully. But I'll tell you, I'm not sure that all those old drains need replacing. A lot of them just need cleaning out. And, you know, I've been speaking with the director of Public Works. They're opening up some of these drain boxes, and they're full of litter, garbage. And, you know, I'm thankful that we're bringing back hand crews to go out and by hand clean those out. But we need to do that across the city. We need to really take a look at our drainage ditches that are kind of the backbone of our stormwater runoff. You know, I've seen 7-foot islands growing in some of our ditches. It's been too long since we've cleaned them out.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, especially a lot of the canals and things that. And we talked about this briefly a little while ago. The wave transit system has come under fire for being very expensive and not transporting enough. You never make money on some of these things. They're public services.
Right.
It's like a civic center. You're not there to make a huge profit. It's there to serve the citizens. But it is expensive, and it doesn't seem to be carrying as many people as it used to or could. And you talk about this. I've seen you at forums talking about this a lot. What is on your mind? What is on your mind with the transit system?
You know, a public transportation system is never really going to be successful if it's not an option for everybody, whether you have your own vehicle or not. And you can see it in San Francisco, even New Orleans, Chicago, New York. People who own cars are using the transit system every day. It's a great way to get cars off your roads. But I want to build a system in Mobile that people will remember, that will really reflect the character of our city. You know, no offense to anybody who works at Wave. I think we have a lot of great drivers out there. I don't think these buses fit the character of our city.
Too big?
They're too big. They're too big for some of our lanes. You know, if you drive past one, you got to kind of inch into the turning lane just to get around them.
And they're half full or less.
And, you know, for them to be full, for people to see them as a real option, they have to be more regular. You can't be waiting in the sun or the rain for an hour and a half at a bus stop.
Yeah.
That's not going to work for the vast majority of people. But if all of a sudden you had a trolley dinging by your street, or at least on one of the major arteries near your street every 30 minutes, and you knew, hey, it's on the 10 and the 40, I can go jump on a trolley and get downtown, get uptown to go towards our colleges, you know, our golf courses. These are things that people, I think, will use for fun, but if we're running more reliable routes, we can get people to work.
I think a lot of people have a misconception, if they don't live in New Orleans or didn't grow up in New Orleans, that the streetcar is for tourists. It is a transportation for the communities in New Orleans. They ride to work on that thing.
All the time, and that could be Mobile. Especially, you know, 31% of the people who aren't working in Mobile, who are unemployed, say it's because they lack reliable transportation. If we can create a system that is reliable for those people, if we can activate that 31% back into our workforce, just think of the economic impact of that.
The current administration has invested a lot of money in big projects like the arena, and Mayor Stimpson says, you know, we're going to be able to pay for those because they planned for it. But he says going forward, money's going to be a little tighter. And we've seen that with the federal government, the Trump administration wanting to put more responsibility in state and local governments. So when you talk about infrastructure and doing a lot more over the next 4 years, how do you plan to pay for it?
You know, in some cases, we need to create extra sources of funding. I really like TIF districts, and they're hard to explain, but they essentially freeze tax rates right now that go to the city, state, and county. And as property value rises, that money goes into a separate fund that can then be put directly back into that neighborhood, that area.
So a TIF area could be in any part of the city, because we get a lot of complaints from West Mobile saying everything's going downtown, and so.
There does have to be a certain amount of blight for one to be able to be created, but you look at downtown, downtown has a TIF. A lot of the wonderful things and improvements we've seen in downtown are because of that TIF.
And you were talking about, I've been watching online, some debating going on, very spirited debate, and you probably have seen it too, concerning vacant properties downtown,
Certainly.
decaying, not being kept up. You're saying that the city could be more efficient to make people want to restore these, or how do you get people to let go that simply are just saying, okay, this property is going to be more valuable, I'm not going to let go of this until I get this amount for it, and the rest of us have to sit here and look at the ruin?
You know, sometimes it's enforcing ordinances that are already in place. We have a facade ordinance now that doesn't allow for plywood. I see a lot of plywood downtown.
Yeah.
But you know, I was also the judge on the case where the Hoffman Furniture Building caught on fire. You know, truly a testament to our fire department that the entire block wasn't lost. It was a huge fire. I think that when there are dangerous situations like that, especially downtown with so much investment, the city needs to step in and say, hey, look, if you're going to leave this building vacant, you need fire protection. Right. You need power and water to make sure that's operational so that you're not costing other business people their investments in downtown.
Who should make the decision on the fire chief, the new fire chief?
Well, you know, I think the mayor will certainly have their pick, but in the end, it's the city council.
All right. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back, so stay with us with mayoral candidate Spiro Cheriogotis. Okay. Time for one more question I will ask each candidate. Mayor Stimpson ran on a theme of One Mobile. What is One Mobile to you?
It's every Mobilian. You know, it's every Mobilian now and the many that I hope to move to this city, you know, to attract to our beautiful city. I think the secret's getting out on Mobile. I think the wonderful thing we have going here is getting out not just to developers but to people. And if we can build a city that people want to be in and be a part of, I want to make sure this city is a happy, safe place for everyone to live, work, and play, no matter where you come from, what your beliefs are, you know, what your bank account says. This is a place for you, and I hope you'll come enjoy Mobile with us.
All right. Spiro Cheriogotis, running for mayor of Mobile. Thanks for being with us and being our first guest. We are going to have others. I will let you go because I know you have more commitments. We're continuing our conversations with the candidates the rest of this week. Tomorrow, Representative Barbara Drummond will be with us. Thursday, former Mobile Police Chief Paul Prine in our studio, and County Commissioner Connie Hudson rounds out the week on Friday. So tune in to NBC 15 News at 6 o'clock. You can vote for your choice of mayor on Mobile Tuesday, August 26th. Be sure to check your polling location on the City of Mobile's website. Several locations have been moved for this year's election, so you may make sure that you know where to go. All right, let's take a little look at weather. Do we have that, or are we just going to wrap it up here? Okay, but state weather aware by downloading our NBC 15 weather app. We're going to be talking more about that a little bit later on, and I guess I'll just say goodbye to you now, and thank you so much once again. We will be back tomorrow night with yet another, and tonight at 10 o'clock we will have weather because Tom's been standing over there just in case something went wrong, but luckily it did not. We had a good conversation. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you tonight at 10 o'clock.